Style is king. I think if you ask around, most skaters would agree that when it comes to what makes skating look good, it is having good style. Now, some guys naturally have this style that is just undeniably cool, and others, well, we got to work a little harder. Pretty sure guys like Dom Sagona, which looks like he's getting back into skating possibly here soon. I am psyched about that. I cannot wait to see clips. He's always been one of my favorite guys to watch skate. But I'm pretty sure he never really had to work that hard to look cool when he skates. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it seems like it just comes out naturally for him. But like I said, some of us have to try to work on it and be conscious of it. But it's kind of hard to put your finger on what style is, and it can be hard to practice. One of the things that always makes your skating look good is having good technique. But before I dive into practicing technique, I'm out here in Chicago, a place that has a fantastic skate scene. If you're ever out here on a Thursday night, come out to Grant Skate Park. It is a solid group of guys, a bunch of high-level skaters, really nice people out here. But let's check out what Grant Skate Park has to offer. On the topic of style versus technique, a thing a lot of aggressive skaters do, myself included, is you get so focused on learning as many new tricks as possible that you forget to work on just basic good skating technique. Things like being able to carve in both directions, do crossovers both directions, be able to skate fakie over both shoulders, be able to carve transition over both shoulders fakie. Things like that are going to make you a better skater, and it's going to make your style a lot smoother. It's going to open up the world of skating for you, but we forget to do that. And another thing we do is you just accept that you landed a trick instead of really focusing on getting the trick done really well. One thing that really bothers me on my own tricks, I don't care so much about other people's skating, but on my own tricks, if I'm doing sole-based tricks and the groove foot isn't locked, it drives me nuts. And one of these tricks that I have a huge problem with for the last 10 years is true spin porn stars. I just slap my groove foot on top of the ledge and it just floats around on top. I can never seem to lock the groove in. And it's something I've been trying to fix for a few weeks now. And tricks like that, all the porn star variations, they just look better when you have that groove foot locked in. Another one that I struggle with sometimes are things like alley-oop asses, alley-oop top asses. But that groove foot tends to just float around and not be locked in properly. But I'm not so crazy as to say it doesn't count when it's not locked in, but it certainly looks and feels a lot better when it is. So I'm going to spend the end of my session here working on my true spin porn stars, trying to get that groove foot locked in. Hopefully I can get at least 3 of them locked in properly and then I'm gonna get out of here. Alright, that was about 90 minutes at Grant Skate Park in downtown Chicago. It's an awesome park, tons of stuff to skate. If you ever find yourself out there, be sure to check that place out. Just do your best to get there early. That place gets very busy later in the day. Only exception, if you're there on a Thursday night, be sure to check out that park as well. On a Thursday night, there's usually a pretty decent group of rollerbladers that turn out. Bunch of great guys, high-level skaters, worth getting out there on a Thursday night. But before I wrap this video up, there were a couple things about the sways that I forgot to mention in the last video. A couple of you guys brought some stuff up in the comments, so let's go ahead and address that. The first one has to do with like quality control stuff again. With the sole plates, the UFS nubs that come down, they're not quite within the actual UFS tolerance. I did a little bit of rough measuring and I'm pretty sure it's the sole plates. It could have been the frames, but Adapt's pretty particular about the product they put out. And from the little bit of measuring I did, it looks like the frames are not the issue. But the nubs on the sole plate are a little too close together, and I wound up having to Dremel down and shave down one of the UFS nubs in order to fit these frames on these skates. It's not an issue with the Fluid 5s that come stock on it. They have a little bit more room milled out on the frame side of things, and they go on and off no problem. But if you're looking into putting aftermarket frames on these skates, you might need to shave down those nubs a little bit in order to make them fit, just because, you know, things have moved a couple millimeters in either direction. And again, quick fix, but just one of those things to be aware of if you're going to be looking into buying these skates. Alright, so let's dive into some of y'all's comments. Looks like Joseph Luck says, great review. I would have liked for you to mention the stock liner and the heel pad. So about the stock liner, I am not going to skate this liner because my foot doesn't fit in this shell size with this liner. I'm on the high side of this shell. I probably should be riding the next shell up, but with the Intuitions I can fit it. So I'm not going to be skating these. I can't speak on them too much, but from what I can tell, what I can feel, it's a decently well constructed liner. There's not anything special about it though. It's just going to be your basic liner, focused more on comfort over performance. It's nice and soft padding, should be a decent amount of support, actually relatively good support from what I can tell. Again, I haven't skated them, but it's going to be a little bit more bulky, a little bit puffier, and more comfortable than like thin and focused on performance and support. So it's probably a good option, but again, I'm not going to be able to skate them because my foot physically won't fit in the shell with these liners in there. And also, I made the investment in Intuition liners and I love them, and so I'm going to keep skating them. So sorry to disappoint, but I'm not going to be skating these liners. But if you're on the lower end of the shell size, like this is a 8.9 US shell, if you're an 8 or an 8.5, your foot should fit really well with the stock liners. If you're more of a 9, 9.5 like I am, you're going to want to look into a thinner liner like a Rain V3, a MyFit Second Skin, or Intuitions, something like that. But again, if you're on the lower side, these should work just fine for you. And as far as the stock heel pad goes, again, I am not skating the stock heel pad that comes in it. It comes with this like hard plastic insole that covers up the rivets and hardware on the inside of the boot with this small MyFit heel pad attached at the back. Should be good. My one issue with it is this hard plastic is very slippery and I can't stand my liners moving around inside the shell. So I am not running this for that reason, and also I've been having some ankle problems for the last 2 years. So I'm riding the Intuition pad, which is a little bit softer, about the same amount of heel raise, which isn't even really noticeable. But it is a little bit softer and easier on my feet. And the other thing that I did to cover up the hardware on the inside and make it a little less slippery is I am running these Dr. Scholl's foam inserts. They're just a couple bucks at the local corner store, grocery store, wherever you can pick them up at. Cut them to fit. They work great. liner doesn't slip around underneath it, and actually with the foam it takes a little bit of the chatter out of the boot when you're riding around. So that's what I'm running, is just that underneath the Intuition liner. So I haven't skated the stock heel pads, and I don't really intend to. But you know, it's a fine option. If you don't want to change anything about the boot, it should work really well. It should soak up enough of the shock that it shouldn't be an issue for you, unless you're Stefan Brando and you're jumping off of roofs. You might want to look into something a little more heavy duty, a little softer, but for most people skating, this stock pad is going to be just fine. All right, next up, Elijah Tickborn says, yeah, can you talk about the stock setup, please? Great video. Again, thanks for the support. As far as the stock setup, I'm not going to be skating these things stock. I kind of don't like changing setups back and forth, so I don't really intend on this being like a product review channel. I like to set things up one way and go at least 6 months without changing anything except the wheels unless they wear out. So I am very interested in skating the Fluid 5s that come on these. They're actually closer in spec to the Symetrics frames than I realized. They just have these lips that are a little off-putting. So I might shave those down. I don't know. I do intend to skate these, but probably on a different boot. I've been toying around with skating Razor Colts next, and I'll probably hang on to these until then, because the symmetric frames do last quite a long time. And then same thing on the liners. My foot physically doesn't fit in this skate with those stock liners. So not going to be skating these stock, but I'm sure that stock, if you are about an 8, 8.5, or if you're on the lower end of your shell size, the stock setup is going to be a great setup for just about anybody. Especially, it is a great value for a beginner price point skate. It's like 160, 170 US, and it's an absolute bargain. You just upgrade the wheels and you're on your way. And finally, Marco90 says, great review, thanks. I'd like to hear your opinions on the Aeons as well, if at all possible. Sure, I might make a full like in-depth review on Aeons one day, especially if I go back to them. There are tons of full-length reviews on them out there, but real quick, with the Aeons, I think they're an excellent skate. They're very light, very low to the ground, very supportive. I know a lot of people swap out the cuffs because they're a little too supportive, a little stiff. I never found an issue with it. The only recommendations I'd have if you're going to get Aeons is go buy yourself some blue thread locker, some super glue, and some nice new sharp Allen keys that are the right size for your hardware. You're going to want to put thread locker on your cuff bolts. The cuff bolt receptors, they like to back out, and then if you tighten them back down and you over torque them, the receptors will snap in half. I broke like 3 of them within about 4 months. The shops will replace them under warranty, but you can avoid all of the headache. Just put some blue thread locker on it and just don't over tighten them and you'll be set. Another issue that a lot of people have is the 45-degree strap. You go to cinch this thing down and the anchor side of it pops loose. All you got to do is put some super glue on this side. It's another quick like $2 fix and it'll never be a problem again. And then the stock hardware that comes on these skates, the axles, I don't know if it's the depth of the Allen key head or the softness of the metal that they make it with, but they're very easy to strip, so you're going to want to use a new sharp Allen key that is the exact right size for your hardware. Otherwise, it's very easy to strip the hardware out on these skates. But other than that, it's an excellent skate for any level of skater, especially if you're looking to try out flat with a little bit of a safety net in there. But that is all the time I have for this one. Hope this information helps. Hope you guys enjoyed the skating over in Chicago. But again, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Bye.